Okay, welcome back. I wanted to debunk a few more things before I call it a rest tonight. And these are some things that really do just ridiculous claims and absurd assumptions of that time. So, we're going to start with this. Now, people have been saying that Captain Smith was a bad captain, that he sped through an ice field with no regards of safety, and that's just not true. Now, they did go full speed ahead, 24 knots to an ice field. That is correct. I'm not going to argue with that, because it is correct. However, it was a common practice at that time. It was said to go really fast and get through that crap really fast. Sorry for your language. But, and here's the other thing. Not only was that the practice at the time, but Captain Smith was what you would call, in my words, the celebrity captain. Everyone, rich and famous, wanted to sail with him because he was just that good. He was the most recommended captain to sail White Star Line's new ships at the time. He had an incredible safety record. He was an amazing captain. Nothing he did that night endangered the ship intentionally. He was doing what was a common practice at that time. And that's one thing that irritates it out of me is putting people down in history without knowing your facts. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is the Carpathia and how the communication between Carpathia and Titanic, where Carpathia just ditched Titanic and said fuck off, which was just it's not true. So basically, Phillips and I forget the other guy's last name. Phillips had been working on the Marconius I said that wrong, wireless room for the past basically the whole day. It went down, and by White Star Line, they were not allowed to work on it. If it went down, it went down. They would be fired for working on the system. But with a feat on their own, they ended up fixing it within about a day. And with that, they had a backload of passenger messages. And that's how they make their money, ladies and gentlemen. They made their money off sending passenger messages. Literally. So once they got this wireless back up and running, they had so much backlog of messages. They were just working from dawn to dusk, just trying to get all this done. Now, when Titanic was about an hour, I believe an hour or so before the collision, the Carpathia was sending Titanic messages. Hey, ice warning. We just have stopped our engines. We are dead in the water because we're concerned. We don't want to hit an iceberg, so we're just stopping at the time. Now, Bruce Ismay did in fact not force, but encourage Captain Smith to continue. And it was a really bad influence at the time. But the intentions were there. They weren't bad. It was after Titanic hit New York, Captain Smith was going to retire. It was his last voyage. Okay, so that's a lot of pressure on a 5-star celebrity captain. So keep that in mind when we're talking about this. So, Bruce Ismay, now I will call him a pussy, because he did get in a lifeboat. So, I do not like him at all. I don't. I feel like he's a pussy. I really do. However, now keep all this in mind. So Phillips had been working just insane amount of messages he's been sending. And now I think I have this right. It was about 400 miles away is where he was sending his telegraphs. Now, Carpathia was about 20 to 40 miles away. I want to give that, give or take, just so I'm not wrong. So when you're sending these things, he had his volume all the way up, so he could actually hear the beeps and dots from that far away. When Carpathia had sent the very urgent and important message that Titanic was sailing directly full speed into an ice field, it was like the loudest scream, to where he had to rip off his headset. And when he put it back on, he was, hey, get off this frequency. I'm trying to do my work. Go to sleep. Bye. Basically. Which is understandable at that time. In 1912, you were not required to always have that room operated. You know, they had to get sleep. So after that, the Carpathia said, I'm shutting my radio off, going to sleep, they don't care, whatever. But that wasn't the case. They did care. They just were frustrated with the scream in their ear. They were not aware of the danger they were in. And that's the biggest thing I want to stress is it wasn't Carpathia's fault. It wasn't Captain Smith's fault. It wasn't Titanic's fault. It was just common practice at the time. And honestly, if I had been working hours that they have, and I made my living off sending messages to for passengers, I would have probably reacted the same way. Like, hey, get off my frequency. I'm trying to do my job and get paid. And make sure my wife and my kids back home I can support. It's so understandable, and it's so underestimated of what happened that night, because it was so much going on that night with Titanic. It was a new ship. It wasn't a godsend that she couldn't sink. And that's the other thing. Titanic was not perceived as unsinkable. It was perceived as the most safest ship that you could be on at that time. And she really was. She was a marvel of engineering. So, yeah, maybe they did take that a little bit more into consideration and kind of left safety off. Yeah, maybe. But again, this was something, the biggest huge man-made object that could move. They thought that anything that could founder the ship would be seen in time. And the fact that the cold water mirage was just an illusion, they thought they could see for miles around. In fact, that they couldn't. They couldn't. You could see maybe this far. You know, and as far as the binoculars go, it would not have helped. Not at all. And that's the biggest thing I want to debunk. And I actually bought into this lie when I was researching Titanic 10 years ago. But no, it would not have made a difference. It wouldn't. During day, yes. During night, no. So, I really hope this was interesting to y'all. I will make some more videos, hopefully Sunday. I really hope you enjoyed the video. I love you all. Have a great night. Bye.